Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I am joined by my two co-hosts, Michael Hall and Michael Reed. The Burgundy Zone is a part of the Frederick Podcast Network. You can find out more by going to www.listenfrederick.com, where we are rejoined by a very good friend of this show, Mr. Ken Johannesen of Riggos Rag. How are you doing on this fantastic Friday evening, Ken?
Doing great. Temperatures in this area got to summer like today for the first time since mid-October. It's about 82, 83 degrees out there. Beautiful day. And it's a wonderful evening, and I'm glad to be with you guys.
Yes, sir. It's a better evening whenever we were able to talk to Ken, especially when you're rocking those W's on the hat and you got the Darius Rucker shirt. You came prepared. Came prepared today, Ken. But the other day, you had a mock 7-round draft for the Washington Commanders, and in one of those selections, you had a trade back, but not at 11. So if you could briefly just kind of educate us on what that mock draft and what happened with the Commanders in that draft.
Well, in the second round, I chose to move back toward the latter part of the round, still have a second rounder. I didn't specify who we would be trading with, but on the board, I still believe that Troy Anderson, linebacker out of Montana State, would be there. And so
you took Drake London at 11,
yes,
right?
Yes,
okay.
And that's the person the receiver I selected there. And so I chose Troy Anderson. In the process, they were able to get a third rounder, I believe a fifth rounder out of that. And I can't remember right now who I chose in the third and fifth. Do you have that right in front of you?
I do not, but I can look. Reed, can you look it up for me?
Yeah. Let me pull it up.
Jelani Woods.
Okay. No, actually, in the third round, I had Breece Hall.
Oh, yeah, running back. Yes.
And the reason I did that is because I believe Washington, the last few weeks of the offseason before the draft, they were contacting a lot of running backs, having formal, informal meetings with them, more so than I think any of us expected. So I think on day two, running back could be a possibility, if not certainly by the fourth round. But I went ahead and put Breece Hall in there, but it could be anybody. And then in the fifth round, I believe you have that up, Mike.
I do not know. It's
okay.
For whatever reason, my laptop's being slow.
I believe I selected a special teams ace, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but then I had another trade in the fourth round, and it was just a small trade back, not much. And it was basically added a seventh rounder.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. And in the seventh round, I chose two defensive tackles with the idea being replacing, not necessarily replacing, that's probably a poor word, but, realizing that Matt Ioannidis has moved on after he was released, signed by the Carolina Panthers. And then Tim Settle going to the Bills. So I chose two defensive tackles. And with that extra pick in the seventh round, I chose Jalen Wittermeyer, tight end out of Texas A&M. Someone who has really fallen in the minds of many analysts. But for whatever reason, Washington seems to be extremely interested in him with a private workout and a formal meeting in recent weeks.
Yeah, everyone was making fun of him because he had a very, very poor RAS score, if I'm not mistaken.
He has a RAS score of like a 1.
Yeah, his 40, I think, was just over 5 seconds at the combine, and that just killed him. His 3-cone, it was just as bad, and he didn't test well at the combine or his pro day. I mean, just horrible. To me, the tape doesn't lie, but the combine is hurting him.
Yeah, I was about to say it's weird because he was very productive in college. Like we've talked about this on the show before. I mean, there's one point where he was supposed to be the top tight end in this draft. He was supposed to be a borderline first round pick just last year. So it's very interesting to watch him fall. And I know that there's also been some character stuff. Apparently, people have questioned his love for the game and his smarts. But you touched on it a little bit towards the end of your draft. You doubled up on defensive tackle, and I love that. I love that. I really think Washington is going to go defensive tackle mid. I think they could possibly go early, but I like these mid to late round prospects. Who are 2 or 3 guys that you think we should keep an eye on that could come in and fill a big role for us?
I think Obanya of UCLA. I think
right.
I think he goes later in the draft. I think he's underrated, undervalued by a lot of teams, and I think he can be there for the taking late in the draft. I like Ellis out of Idaho.
Yeah, no, Ellis,
another guy. He's a good size guy.
Mm-hmm.
But, what hurt him 4 years ago coming out of high school, highly recruited, by the likes of SEC teams, Big Ten teams, a bunch of them. But his academics were poor. So he chose to go to Idaho, which, gave him the chance. And he ended up staying there for 4 years, had good impact. His father's Luther Ellis, a longtime NFL defensive lineman in the NFL. So he has the pedigree, and I think he's going to have a pretty decent impact in the NFL. So I think these are a couple of guys you can look at.
Yeah.
Right. And sticking with your draft, you had them taking a linebacker in the second round. That would make pretty much 3 young linebackers. How comfortable would you be with 3 young linebackers in that defensive room going into next season?
Well, I don't think they have much of a choice.
Right.
But what I like about Cole Holcomb, he has really steadily improved each year. His first year, he was just running all over the place. Like one time I swore he ran clearly out of the stadium somewhere. Took himself totally out of the play. And I was like, what are you doing out there? But he has steadily improved. I think when you look at that interception he had against Dallas to put them back in the game, late in the game, within a touchdown, what a great timely play. And that kept them in the playoff hunt. Granted, it was still a bit of a stretch that they would get in. But it's just showing the maturity he has. And I think this coming year, he's going to show that he's a veteran and he's a leader. So I think we can put the young label off on him. And Jamin Davis, yes, he's young. And I think he was out of position last year. And I think the last 2 or 3 games, they had him playing on the weak side and not in the middle. Mm-hmm. And we saw what he did. He was playing lights out. So I think he's going to be on the weak side this year. I think Cole Holcomb, they'll line him up in various places. And I think he'll adapt to that really well. We'll even see him in the middle at times. So I'm not overly concerned about the youth, but it's something to look at. That's for sure.
But I will point out, you are 100% right now. Like I keep looking over this, but at this point, Cole Holcomb's not even necessarily young anymore. Like you said, he's a veteran at this point. So there you go. Good call.
Yeah, absolutely. A great call. And then to get this out of the mock draft, because our mock draft is coming up later on, the full first round mock is going to be later on in the episode. But let's bring this back because you had talked about the informal meetings with these prospects in the draft with the Commanders, Ken. So looking just based off what you had produced yesterday for Riggos Rag, detailing every single visit from every prospect that the Commanders met with, is there a position group that you're seeing that jumps out at you that says, obviously they're paying a bunch of attention here?
And if you don't mind, tell us how you get your info.
First of all, it's a secret. Maybe I'll share it with you someday. No, it's something I stumbled across about 4 years ago. And then I experimented with it before having my first article that centers on these prospects last year. And I believe last year's article, there was numbered about 150 prospects, maybe a little more. This year, we have information, or I have information, on 207 prospects that were met. Wow. But we have to remember a lot of that is informal meetings. Mm-hmm. Now, in informal meetings, for example, when you saw Coach Rivera meeting with the Ohio State receivers, during their pro day, he may have talked to them for 2, 4, maybe 6 minutes. That's an informal meeting. Nothing more, nothing less. Now, when they meet at the combine, they can meet no more than 45 players formally, and that's only for 20 minutes. You go behind a locked door, and the NFL, keeps close tabs on it. And when the 20 minutes is up, not 20 minutes and 30 seconds or 25 minutes, 20 minutes, they open that door, that player comes out. The next one goes in. I mean, it's highly structured what they do at combine. The team pro day, you can have a formal meeting at team pro days. Often you don't. When they went out, I guess about a week and a half ago to Drake London's pro day, because he couldn't do it on Southern Cal's day. Right. He had an individual pro day. The day after, they went to Reno, Nevada, to meet with Carson Strong, the quarterback, and with Cole Turner. Mm-hmm. They met with both players. It was formal meetings. And what they did afterwards was do a private workout with both of them. So they killed 2 birds, really 3 birds with 1 stone in that trip. Mm-hmm. Scott Turner was there. I believe Marty Herney was there. Coach Rivera was back in Ashburn, I believe. So, formal meetings are structured, and they're monitored heavily by the NFL. Same thing with private workouts. Informal meetings, they just happen. And that's where the bread and butter of recruiting is. Because if you meet a player, let's say at the Senior Bowl, just a quick informal meeting, then another informal meeting at the Combine, and then at the Team Pro Day, you may have spoken with that player for about 15 to 20 minutes. That's almost like a Combine visit, altogether.
Right.
But it's still not a formal meeting. And usually you're going to find players that are selected late that's going to be on the informal meeting agenda for Washington or any other team, whereas the formal meetings are focusing on certain players, and usually they come into Ashburn in the morning on a chartered jet from the team, and they immediately get to the facility, tour the facility. In the afternoon, after having lunch, probably, what they'll do is have individual meetings with whoever the coordinator is, offensive or defensive, and probably a couple position coaches and the head coach, and maybe even Marty Herney and Martin Mayhew's in there as well. So that's highly structured as well. But again, the bread and butter, especially for players later in the draft, is informal meetings.
Right.
And that's how. Now, go ahead.
Oh, I was about to say, and like we talked about the other day, Ken, it's also weird too, because like they're putting out we're getting all this info about players that they've met with. And sometimes like we've heard players that have been drafted there, I didn't even know they had an interest in me. I had no idea. But then you also hear times like Sam Cosme last year, who was like, oh yeah, I knew that they liked me. I talked to Coach Rivera a few times. We're talking to them on the phone a lot. So it's weird how that works. Sometimes I guess they can get enough off of a guy in one interview.
Yeah, and the one thing that was introduced over the last couple of years is Zoom meetings. That counts as a private meeting if they meet long enough. It's called a virtual visit. All these meetings, some of them don't mean a thing. Right. Others do. And we just can't know exactly what all these meetings entail. Right. I want to go back to what Kyle originally asked, though, the question before. Which positions do they seem to be focusing on? Yeah. They met with 119 offensive players by my count. And then they met with 84 defensive players by my same count during this entire process. Now, I'll say I think I'm missing some data from the Tropical Bowl and one other bowl.
I'm sure it's not going to skew the statistics at all. Kate.
Yeah, but I think it's around 30 or 40 players that they're missing the data on. I hope to kind of cultivate some context for next year to deal with that, but we'll see. But the one position, to answer the question, by far, they met with formally and informally with 29 wide receivers, and by far the biggest number.
Right.
So that's probably your focus, and I would say, considering how many offensive players, that's also a focus.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, that's huge. I think we all can agree on that. Another need that has kind of come up a lot over the last few weeks to the last month has been tight end. A lot of fans are putting tight ends in their mock drafts. A lot of people are saying that we need to look at tight end. Who are a couple of tight ends that Washington has interviewed or that they seem to really have some interest in?
Well, Jalen Whittemire is one, obviously.
Right. Yeah,
that's the one that
they do seem to have a lot.
Yeah, and that's the one they did a private workout with, as well as a formal interview. And they met with him at the combine and everything. So I'm not saying he's number one on their list.
Right.
I know. I mean, you never know.
There's a certain tight end from Virginia that is
have
they done much work with him?
Yeah, they had
with
the workout
Jelani
in
Woods,
and then they had Chekazim, the tight end from Maryland, was there as well for the hometown workout.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah, Jelani Woods, he's obviously went to my alma mater, so I'm pretty proud. A little bit biased, but my goodness, 6'7" tight end, good size, has good speed, and he has a vertical jumping ability that's through the roof.
Yeah,
I'm surprised this guy didn't play basketball.
Seriously,
right?
And could you imagine him on a Hail Mary to end the game or end the half, throwing the ball, and he just jumps up above everyone? Now, all these safeties and defensive backs are going to be pulling on his arms as he's coming down.
Oh yeah,
he has good strong hands too, so that could be kind of difficult for those defensive backs. So they'll be ganging up on him. Wherever Jelani Woods goes, he's going to be a red zone target.
Yeah,
because of his height and leaping ability. Yeah, I just knowing that he's climbing the board so quickly.
Right, that worries me.
Yeah, I just think that for Washington, I don't think he's going to be there. But if he is, I just don't see it in first, second round. If they're not able to obtain a third rounder, I don't see him there in the fourth round.
Right.
His athleticism alone, given with him being 6'7", and then when you look at his blocking on tape, he looks like a lineman out there. He's very, very capable. Any smart OC is going to look at that and look, do I want to put a 6'7" behemoth who can plug in right away and block? Yeah.
This last year at Virginia was his first year that he ever really became a receiving threat. Before at Oklahoma State, he caught some balls, but he was used primarily as a blocker. So it was good for him to get to show that off. I mean, hey, the guy gets it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, when you have Brendan Armstrong just constantly throwing the ball,
right?
He averaged over 400 yards a game. Yeah, those receivers are looking pretty good, but Jelani Woods just kept improving week after week, and he finally caught my eye by about week 7 or week 8, and I'm like, this guy might have a future in the NFL.
Yeah,
and so I was pretty excited, but it was fun to watch.
Yes, sir. And then, Ken, this is the last question that I have for you before we transition into the fan questions. Let's just say that Kyle Hamilton is not there at 11. Let's say that Jalen Petrie and Jaquan Brisker are gone. Who are some people, prospects in this draft, maybe in the 4th or later, that could come in and play Buffalo nickel?
Ooh.
That word has been getting thrown around so much lately.
It is.
It's a big need because it's something that they have obviously been very vocal about. I mean, even John Keim from ESPN has been very on Twitter, has talked about many times. But Buffalo nickel is a legitimate need that they're looking at.
I completely agree. It's just weird because that wasn't a need up until they had to find a role for Landon Collins.
Right.
Then they decided that they liked it and it stuck. And now all of a sudden, hey, we need one.
I don't know if there's any later prospects could really fill that role successfully. I think there's 2 or 3. The names fail me right now.
Like Brian Asamoah, JoJo Doman.
Well, Asamoah is a linebacker that can, he can play in the box, certainly. But can he adapt to that? I don't know.
Smoke Monday?
Smoke Monday. He could, but he's more of a later round guy.
Yeah,
right. I think he's someone that probably will be a little bit better on the outside. Maybe he can play on the perimeter. If he can show some good perimeter skills, Smoke Monday would be a good one from Auburn.
What about like a Sterling Weatherford? Do you think he could?
Well, I had him in a mock recently. Right. You saw that. He's a bit raw for that.
Right.
he's certainly one I would think of. He certainly has the size, but I think in coverage should be a little bit difficult. Just being honest there.
Yeah.
I think a Buffalo nickel for him, he would need a year to adjust to that.
Right.
I get you. I got you. Now, let's move on to our fan questions, Ken. And Hall, I'm going to go to you first with this.
Hall's here?
This question is from our guy, Jeff Miles, in the Discord chat server, Hall. Who would be your realistic draft pick nightmare at 11?
Uh-oh.
That's a good one.
You're coming next, Ken. You better get ready.
I have two. My first one would be any offensive lineman that's there would just be my worst nightmare. I want him to draft offense, but like skill position, not just like any.
You said you wanted offense, you know.
I know, right? Not any position, a skill position. But my second would be probably outside of Malik Willis if they draft a quarterback at 11 in the first round. I think that it would just be setting them up for failure. It would be Philly Part 2 all over again, most likely. And honestly, it would just be a waste of the $28 million they gave to Carson Wentz. So those would be my two worst nightmares.
All right. I can dig it. Did he steal any of yours, Ken?
Yes. He stole the quarterbacks.
That was an easy one. What can I say?
Well, yeah, it was, admittedly so. I would say any tight end, obviously.
Yeah.
I think you don't have any first-round tight ends in this draft. I think McBride in the second round. He could slide late into the first. That wouldn't be too surprising. But, tight end. But I would think, and y'all are going to hate me for this, but I think if they were tempted to take wide receiver and there's already 3 off the board, if they went Treylon Burks there. I think he's someone that'll be there around picks 17 to 22. And if they can trade back and get that, I'd be happier. So I'm going to say Treylon Burks. Sorry, guys.
Hey, I'm not the biggest Burks fan either. So I'm there with you, Ken. I like him, but, not at 11.
No, I think Burks is very, very capable of adding some talent to this offense.
Oh, yeah.
I think Hall would lose all of his hair if we passed up on if 3 wide receivers are taken already and Treylon Burks is there and we don't take him. I think Hall's going to throw a fit. But for me, the nightmare scenario, I will say, is probably Derek Stingley there at 11. And the reason why I say that is you're essentially not fixing anything that is necessary. The Buffalo nickel, like just in case Kyle Hamilton is there, and you're missing out on wide receiver going with Stingley, who has big question marks, given that he hasn't been productive for the past 2 seasons. And it's not no fault of his own. Obviously injuries happen. Maybe it's just bad luck, and he's very capable of being that superstar that everyone is projecting him out to be. I'm just saying there at 11, I don't think it's the smartest thing for Washington to do that. That being said, if Sauce Gardner is there, I don't think that's a nightmare scenario, just because it just seems like a more safe pick in my opinion. I know PFF feels differently, but for me, I'm going to say Stingley. What about you, Reed?
So real fast on Stingley, I just read a report saying that there's real smoke going around the NFL right now saying Derek Stingley could go top 3. They're saying,
wow.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with you guys. Like the cornerback thing, I could understand because you would improve one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL. So I would get that. And that's a fairly premium position, these days. But yeah, really, I mean, the quarterback, and then certain wide receivers that don't fit. But I'll go another route, even though I do think this is a need, and I do think that they'll address it early to the mid rounds. But I'm going to go defensive tackle. Say like a Jordan Davis fell down and they're like, all right, well, we got to go get that guy. He's too athletic. That's a big part of our defense because we do know that they like to rotate defensive linemen, and it'll free up a lot. Deron Payne's in a contract here. But it's just like, okay, but why? Like, let's not pick somebody who's going to be third string in the first round. Let's if that's your ceiling for him year 1, let's not do that. But that wouldn't happen. But that would be a nightmare scenario for me.
I got you. That's a good argument there. I can't go wrong with you. Now, our next question is from Scott Hartley in the UK, and I just wanted to say they have their UK draft party this week going on in Edinburgh, Scotland, and so they're having all the UKs getting together. The team, the Washington Commanders, actually sent them a bunch of merchandise. So if you're watching, you're in the UK, if you're not familiar with Scott or Andy Burrows or the guys getting this set up, go and check them out on the NFL UK draft party that's going on in Edinburgh, Scotland.
Real fast, if we draft Drake London and they don't buy a London jersey, they are out of their minds.
You're absolutely
that
right.
Would be perfect for those Brits.
Back to the topic at hand. Scott's question for us tonight. Who on the team's current roster takes the biggest leap and improves the most this season, Ken?
De'Ami Brown.
That's exactly who Scott said.
Okay.
I want to make a quick little observation from something that occurred late this afternoon. The Giants apparently have made it known that Kadarius Toney is there for a trade. Someone emailed me, a good friend that I've known for years, said, would you entertain a De'Ami Brown trade for Kadarius Toney? And, and so I thought
Toney
about
flashed big time last year when he played.
Yeah. So here's my thought on that. The grass is not always greener on the other side.
Right.
That's not necessarily a cliche, but sometimes on the other side, you might spot a couple of really nice, big, beautiful trees, and not necessarily green grass. They produce good fruit, plenty of shade in the summertime.
Shelter
so
if you're homeless.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I'm not saying I would dismiss that, but the thing about wide receivers that are taken in the third round, like De'Ami Brown, sometimes they take a little time to develop.
Mm-hmm.
So how much is he going to advance this year as far as from last year? I think there's a real opportunity there for him for the taking, especially when you brought in a big arms quarterback in Carson Wentz that can get the ball to him.
Right.
I noticed
he's a deep downfield.
Yeah, I noticed on several plays, well, a bunch of plays last year, where De'Ami would run down the field, and he'd generally have a step at times on the corner or the free safety that's playing back. And Taylor Heineke either didn't see him or just couldn't get the ball to him. But I think with Wentz, that could change. Yeah. So I'm more inclined to stay with De'Ami Brown. And I think that's the player that's going to take a leap this year.
Yeah, and it's also been noted that Kadarius Toney is possibly a head case, which is probably why he's requesting a trade after 1 year. Obviously, the talent is off the charts. I absolutely loved his pre-film breakdown. But obviously, there's something going on there. And Brian Daboll's a good sense of character, so I wouldn't expect Ron Rivera to make any moves there. But one player I think to take the biggest leap this season, I'll have two. I'm sorry, Scott, but I'll say Sammis Reyes and Sadiq Charles. I think Sadiq Charles will get a lot of run this season, especially he's working with Coach Savage, working on getting it there at guard, possibly backup tackle. I think he'll get some run this season. And then Sammis Reyes having a year and a half being able to gel with Logan Thomas, and I think that he's really going to look a lot better this season. What about you, Hall?
If I had to pick a player,
rapid fire,
I would probably say, even though I'm not going to say like he's going to go from like a nobody to a somebody, because he's been ascending since his rookie year, since he stepped on the field, but I'm going to go Cam Curl. I think Cam Curl in year 3 is going to have one of those like top 5, top 7 safeties in the league type of years. And I definitely think he's going to be a huge contributor. And just look what he did his rookie year. I think it's going to be similar to that, where he's flying around the ball, making turnovers, getting up in the box, making tackles, blitzing off the edge and making sacks. So I definitely think that I'm not going to say he's going to take the biggest jump, but I definitely think he'll ascend to like a household name throughout the league, just not in Washington.
I hope so, man. What about you, Reed?
Yeah. I'll go too, and I'll do them real fast. I'm going to go another tight end, John Bates. I think John Bates getting the opportunity to be the number 1 tight end early on. We know how much Carson Wentz loves his tight ends anyway. 2 tight end sets when Logan Thomas does come back. I think Bates will get a lot of targets early on. He will get a good rapport with Carson Wentz. And hey, Logan Paulson told us about this guy and that he was actually a very good pass catcher. My best friend, of course, we all knew that. And hey, he ended up being good. He flashed. He really showed a lot, more than anybody expected. And then on the other side of the ball, I'm going to go with somebody that I was pumping rainbows up this dude last year. And he didn't produce really, and that is William Jackson III. William Jackson III struggled early on, but he did play a lot better the second half of the season. And apparently, from everything that I've been hearing and what a lot of people have been saying, cornerback is one of the hardest positions to play when you're going into a new defense, especially when you've been in another one your entire career. Just take some time, and it was finally starting to come. And he's way too talented for last year to continue to happen. I think having that healthy D-line will really help him out, and another year in the system.
Yeah, and that would make sense. William Jackson 30 is going to be needing to take a big leap this season. Obviously, they moved him at not the comfort zone, I guess is the best way to put it. But the next question that we have is from Tony Shivers. Ken, let's do this one fast. What would be your favorite combine drill to do personally, and which one would you hate?
I always hated wind sprints, but I'd still love to do the 40. That would mean I'm healthy right now, which I'm not, and I would love doing that. But the one I would really hate, because my mobility, even back in the day, was not the best. I would hate the 3-cone.
Yeah,
I just wouldn't like that.
Yeah, and speaking for all white guys, for me personally, it would be the vertical jump.
Yep.
I would
I was about to say all of us but Hall would hate that.
I would absolutely hate the vertical.
That's actually going to be my favorite one. So
right.
Yeah.
But my favorite drill that I'd love to do is the one drill I think they have wide receivers and corners and others do, where they run in the straight line on one of the yard markers, and they see if you run off that line while throwing you a ball in each direction. I feel like that one's always fun to watch, and I would love to do that one. It looks a lot of fun. All right, Hall.
Yeah, no, you just took mine. The receiver drill where they run down the straight line and you got to like go side to side and kind of use like your turning ability to catch the passes, catch it with your hands, show the hands that you have. That would be my favorite one. Least favorite one probably would be the bench press, just because I hate lifting weights. Even back in high school when I played.
Yeah, they're heavy. Who wants to lift that?
Yeah, I was like never like really like the lifting type. I was more of just like the cardio and like other type of like exercises and workworkouts, but. Hey, lifting weights, so definitely the bench press.
Yeah, no, it looks like it. Mine, mine. I'm gonna side with Ken. My favorite would probably be the 40 as well. Now, look, I'm not saying that I am John Ross, but I am saying that I would destroy Rich Eisen. I would murder that guy in a race.
I'd be willing to put money on that.
Yeah, and you'd put all your money on me, every cent that you own, all 10 of them, and then also I would. Probably hate doing the broad jump, just because like I was gonna say vertical jump, but I just hate jumping. I feel like some sort of frog or something. It just
it looks like it.
Yeah, no, I know, right? It kind of does. Like if I just shot my tongue out and caught a bug flying by or something.
Hall trying to be funny was hysterical.
Yeah, hey.
But it was just very funny.
Everybody's got to try.
No, that was very funny. But Ken, the last question we have is from Andy Lockhart. As Montez Sweat goes into his last year of his contract, do we try to lock him up long-term this offseason or go down the route of a fifth-year option first?
I think we do the fifth-year option first.
Agreed.
I think that it's going to be very difficult to keep him after this fifth-year option, just because of all the talent they have on the defensive line. And I think this team really favors Chase Young over Montez Sweat. So I think they're going to stay with the fifth-year option. After that, they'll get a third-round compensatory pick the following year.
Dude, that word always gets me.
Yeah. That's basically why you. One of the main reasons, not main reasons, of course, you want the guy, but one of the factors of why you would even trade up into the first round to get somebody is so you can have that fifth-year option if you like them. And it makes a lot of sense. I think you're going to see a fifth-year option for every single one of these defensive linemen on our team.
Yeah, and it goes to show you
what
Ron Rivera was essentially saying when looking at the financial situations going on here. And he said, look, you also have to look in the future. And I know a lot of people speculated that was based on like cap casualties and everything happening with everything going on with Snyder, but I didn't view it that way. I viewed it as the future contracts coming up because they're coming up fast. You guys already talked about Cole Holcomb being considered a veteran. Montez Sweat's going to get paid soon. Deron Payne. And so I know we all keep saying we want these free agents to come in here, but that money does not exist at the moment because these contracts are going to have to come. And look, you can say all you want about the guys in this roster, but there's a lot of people on the league that would love to be able to grab those guys. All right, Ken. Well, it was a pleasure, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. Ken Johannesen from Riggos Rag. I can't thank you enough, brother. Come on here, spending this time with us, sir.
The greatest.
It's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed it.
Hey, who has more players drafted, Virginia or Virginia Tech? Ken versus Kyle, go.
It's going to be Virginia Tech. It's not close.
Over the years, Virginia has drafted 5. Washington drafted 5 Virginia players. And then over the years, 1 Virginia Tech player.
Woo!
Well, that's Washington. I thought we were talking about the NFL.
No. I was talking about Washington. I'm sorry. I should have staged my question better. Ken got it because he understands me.
Hey, he gets it. He talks read. You guys had a conversation for a full day. It's not fair. Ken, thank you so much for joining us, brother.
I enjoyed it.
I hope you have a fantastic night, sir, and I'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you, gentlemen. I'll see you again soon.
See you, Ken.
All right, brother.
Have a good weekend, man.
All right, everybody. We just talked to the man, Mr. Ken Johannesen.
So much info on draft prospects. The guy gets it.
Love it.
I was blown away by his meetings, the informal meetings with the prospects that he had. It was like 6 pages long.
Yeah.
It's insane with how many
crazy.
guys they met with. But without
nuts.
further ado, everybody, we are into our final first-round mock draft, and we're going to do this with a very special guest, a guest that's returning to us, almost like a guru, you could say, of draft prospects, Mr. Ian Cummings from PFN 365. Thank you for joining us on this Friday night, Ian, and taking away from all your buddies and drinking, I'm sure.
Yeah, you know it, man. I mean, in the ramp up to the draft, that's what I'm doing right now. What we're doing is we're just watching tape, man. I'll tell you this: the night after the draft ends, man, that is what I'm doing. But right now, it's all work, and making sure that we're using all the time we can, and obviously doing first round mocks to wrap it up and play through all the different possibilities. Always a fun time for sure.
What else is fun is watching NFL Network and taking a shot every time they say formal, informal, visit, this player, potential, and team, and the word team. That's good.
But you know the old saying, Ian, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, right?
Yes,
Ian,
sir.
so
Yes,
you're
sir.
absolutely right. But let's kickstart this mock draft for the end of this episode, everybody. Let's get it going.
I think he just called you dull.
No, I didn't.
Just kidding.
Who's picking first is going to be Hall, followed by our fan submissions here. So then Reed at 3, Ian at 4, and then I'm at 5. And that list is going to be recurring all the way down through the first round. And we have some phenomenal fan selections in this one. Wait till you see Keith's on here, dude. It's insane. All right, so without further ado, Hall, you are on the clock. The Jacksonville Jaguars at number 1. Who are they selecting?
Yes, he's pretty much been the 1-1 since the beginning of the draft process. There's been a lot of back and forth between him and Trayvon Walker lately because of his athleticism and maybe his potential down the road. But they go the safer route. The guy's going to come in and hopefully make an impact from day one. They go Aiden Hutchinson.
Aiden Hutchinson, everyone knows that that's going to be the pick. I know you, Reed, you talked about earlier about Stingley possibly being rumored as a top 3 pick, but looking at those lists of people, it just doesn't make sense to me personally with a guy like Aiden Hutchinson there. The Jacksonville Jaguars get a pass rusher.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. But now let's go to the second overall pick, the Detroit Lions, being selected by Scott Hartley in the UK. Oi! So let's travel abroad and go see what Scott feels the Lions are going to do at number 2.
Gentlemen, thank you for having me on the podcast once again. I've been tasked with having the second pick in the draft for the Detroit Lions, and the Detroit Lions select Malik Willis, quarterback out of Liberty. They get a deep thrower, someone who can learn behind Jared Goff for at least this season and look to bring him out next season or the season after that, in fact. Good arm talent, runs very, very well, good with the use of his legs, a bit like a mini Lamar Jackson. They take him and they get their quarterback of the future. Thanks for having me again, guys. Cheers. Bye-bye now.
Thank you, Scott from the UK. He picked Malik Willis going number 2 to Detroit Lions. I absolutely love that pick. I think it does make sense. We talked to Thor Nystrom, and he talked about how that offensive staff there absolutely loves Malik Willis. But so let's move on to number 3, Michael Reed picking for the Houston Texans. Where are they going with, brother?
Now, Houston could go almost any direction, but they're going to go Evan Neal, offensive tackle from Alabama. I know that it's a toss-up between some people as to who is the best offensive lineman in this draft. I think Evan Neal, his positional versatility, when you look at their offensive line, you look at Laramie Tunsil, you look at Titus Howard, these guys, Evan Neal's played guard, he's played right tackle, he's played left tackle, so you can kind of plug him in anywhere, but I think he would ultimately settle in at right tackle, despite the fact that Titus Howard has been better there throughout his career. But I just think you can't pass up a human wall like that. That guy is huge.
I know a lot of people have speculated on who will be the first offensive tackle taken, and obviously that would be huge for Evan Neal. The guy showed he did not look like 300 pounds when you saw the picture of him at the combine. He looked like a skinny, just regular guy. But now let's move on to the 4th overall pick, the New York Jets being selected by the guru himself. Ian, what are the Jets going to do here?
Yeah, so I was torn between either Ikem Ekwonu or Jermaine Johnson. I was thinking, they got to get the edge position set too. Obviously, Carl Lawson coming back from injury. It's a little bit of uncertainty there. But here's the thing, I was playing strategically here. So ideally, if I had the 10th pick as well, I saw that only one edge went in that top 3 range. So I'm thinking maybe my guy falls to that point. I can get Ikem and Jermaine Johnson, or whoever falls to that. So I took Ikem. I went with the value on the board. I think that, Mekhi Becton and George Fant, they're going to be battling for that left tackle spot. But Becton's long-term future, very much uncertain. I look at that. I think wherever you want Ikem to go, he's a mauler on that offensive line. He is so physical, so powerful, just an elite run blocker already. And he showed great strides in pass protection in 2021. So I'm banking with that high upside and protecting Zach Wilson.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish you would have told me that, because I'm picking at 10, and so I would have been able to correct those with you.
Yeah.
And I kind of butchered that, didn't I?
That's my bad. I'm the assistant GM. We should have been in cohesion. That's my bad.
No, you're good, dude. And now moving to number 5, the New York Giants, our division rivals. Boo! They are selecting at number 5, Trayvon Walker, the 6'5", 272-pound edge rusher from Georgia. Ran a 4.51 40, which is absolutely disgusting. Had 37 tackles, 7.5 for loss this season with 6 sacks. His RAS score, a 9.99, almost nearly perfect, but he's no Sammis Reyes. That's an awesome pick for the New York Giants. They need some edge rusher help, and Trayvon Walker going up there helping Brian Dable get that defense done right. I love this pick for the Giants. But now Hall's picking next for the Carolina Panthers. What are they going with?
Yes. Obviously, they have Sam Darnold going into the season, and PJ Walker, I think so as well. They're going to need a quarterback to come in and obviously be the quarterback ones going to the season. Malik Willis has already gone off the board. They go Kenny Pickett out of Pittsburgh.
Kenny Pickett. Don't say it, Reed. Don't say it.
I was going to say that they already have a quarterback who looks like a Lego cop. Now they're going to have a quarterback who has Lego-sized hands, probably.
Ridiculous. Now we have Jordan Assery, Washington football team today, picking at number 7 for the New York Giants. And so hopefully it's not a great pick, but we'll see.
So I've got the Giants using the number 7 overall pick on cornerback Sauce Gardner. This is mainly because I think the Giants are going to end up releasing or even trading James Bradbury soon, which is going to create a hole for them at the cornerback position. Sauce Gardner, he's lanky, he's big, but still fast, runs a 4.4 40. He's got some cockiness to his game, and he's going to be really good for the Giants to be able to match up against these NFC East receivers like Terry McLaurin, CeeDee Lamb, and Devonta Smith.
All right, and the first corner is off the board. Sauce Gardner going to the New York Giants. They get Trayvon Walker and Sauce Gardner. That defense is looking much, much better. But Reed, let's move on to Atlanta Falcons, number 8. What are they going with?
First off, I will just say I love it that New York didn't go O-line in the first round. Everybody's banking on them doing that. And
yeah.
Good. Thank God. So Atlanta is going to be going with a wide receiver, of course, to replace the Calvin Ridley situation. Of course, they lost Julio Jones a couple years ago. They're going to go with a surprise maybe here, but that's Jameson Williams, who could have been the wide receiver one. I think for some people, every team's board's different, of course. But if he wouldn't have been injured, this guy, what he offers is a deep threat with his size too at 6'2". It's very interesting. And if he seems to be recovering well from the ACL, and the ACL will go to the ATL. You know what I'm saying? And he will provide a target down there.
What a line. But obviously Atlanta would love that. Losing out on Julio Jones, obviously a couple years ago, Atlanta fans would love to be able to bring back another Alabama wide receiver. But moving to 9, the Seattle Seahawks being chosen by Ian. What is Pete Carroll and company doing?
One of my favorite picks, by the way.
Yes, I was thinking maybe quarterback here, because obviously Drew Lock is not super inspiring at this point in his career. I mean, we all know that, right? But at the same time, I'm not very inspired by this quarterback class. Desmond Ridder is probably the next guy up for me. And while he's experienced, while he has good processing, great physical tools, the mechanics are very much a work in progress. And that was one thing that kind of contributed to Locke's downfall. Now, I think Ridder is a little bit better mentally, but there's still that uncertainty there. Enough for me to say, I'd rather take the tackle here. So I'm taking all the tackles in this mock draft and go with Charles Cross. I think he's a very good pass protector, very smooth, very good recovery ability, really, really free athlete on the field. But then he's long. He's a little light, but if you can put some muscle on, I think he can be your bookend for at least a decade.
It's about time that they hit on an offensive tackle, because they made some reaches before. And, Russell Wilson's like, why didn't you guys do this for me when I was there? Why didn't you guys make something happen at offensive tackle for me?
Yeah, and I heard a rumor that by a friend of ours that Seattle is possibly in the running for Baker Mayfield, whatever happens with that situation. So getting a left tackle set up there in Seattle makes a whole lot of sense. Now at number 10, we're going to head back to the East Coast for the New York Jets. And there I have them selecting the number 2 wide receiver in this draft, Garrett Wilson. I think that is a perfect fit for them. They've been heavily invested in wide receiver in any trade, free agent. They've been all in, getting turned down one after another. Now they finally get their wide receiver, Garrett Wilson, who can do it all, and that's somebody that's really going to help out Zach Wilson and this offense get up and running because they definitely need the firepower. At number 11, the pick that we've all been waiting for. Number 11, Mr. Hall. I know you've been sweating for weeks to be able to make this pick. What are the Commanders doing at 11? Don't screw this up.
Yeah, don't choke rabbit.
Anyone got some spaghetti I can spill on my shirt real quick? Obviously, this team, there's been a lot of mock drafts out there with Kyle Hamilton falling to us, and Ron obviously loves defense. He's a defensive coach, loves defense. He would be a game changer for this defense. We haven't had a safety back there that's been with range and come up and play the run, can blitz the quarterback like Kyle Hamilton can. So with that being said, the pick is in. They go Drake London from USC.
Yeah.
I like the pick.
I like
Ian, what do you think about that pick at 11 for the Commanders going with Drake London?
Well, first off, the mislead, the deception.
Yeah, I know, that was great.
Hey, like that was top.
I was like, did he forget who he picked here?
That was top tier. That was top tier. I was like, wait a minute, where's this going? But no, I like Drake London and Kyle Hamilton. I'm a huge fan of him as a player, but I do think the gap between him and the next two safeties on the board is not as big as people are leading on. I love Lewis Dean. I love Jackson Hill. I don't think this is your only opportunity to get a game-changing safety in this class. Drake London, 6'4", 219, elite size, very good contested threat. He can rise up, box out defenders, but he's very good in the other facets too. He can separate. He's a really good route runner, really smooth for his size. He's got lateral agility after the catch. He finishes with physicality. I'm a big fan of his. He's my wide receiver 3, right behind Wilson and Jameson Williams, but they are all clustered right there at the top for me. Big fan of all these guys, and I think he'd add a new element to that Washington offense.
Yeah. Good job, Hall. I've said there's only a couple prospects I'd be really pissed about here, O-line barring, but I would absolutely love this pick with Drake London. Obviously, the contested catches are always a big emphasis for me with wide receivers, and he excels in that area.
Yeah.
What about you, Reed?
Definitely.
You like it?
Yeah, no, I love it. I think Drake London's probably my favorite wide receiver in this class. I mean, just because he offers something so much different than any other wide receiver. I mean, you can line him up inside. He's played a lot in the slot. He's a former basketball player. Of course, he played shooting guard. Like you said, he can high point the ball really well, contested catches, and just the difference. Like Cam Sims, we have Cam Sims. He's big, but he's not a game breaker like Drake London has the potential to be. And I just think that when you go back and watch Drake London, especially this last year before he got hurt, what he was doing, he was just a man among boys out there. Now I know it was a bad division, but the guy's a freak, and that's I would hope.
Luckily,
that
we play in a bad division too, so it all works out.
Exactly. Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
All right. Now let's
Trayvon Diggs versus him.
Unfortunately, we have to move on to number 12, the Minnesota Vikings, being selected up in New Jersey by our guy Keith Gray. Let's see where Keith thinks at 12.
Hey, what's up, everyone? It's your boy Keith. I'm probably not your boy, but that's okay. That's cool. But if I am your boy, that's cool too. With the number 12th pick, the Minnesota Vikings select wide receiver Chris Olave. And the reason is because Kirk Cousins sucks and needs all the help he can get.
All right, thank you, Keith, for selecting Chris Olave. Why you gotta pour on my man Kirk Cousins, man? Now let's head on to pick number 13, selected by Reed. Who is the Houston Texans selecting?
First of all, I want to thank Keith for doing another mock draft. I know the guy loves them. He does so many.
Absolutely
of them.
Big fan.
Yeah, especially big fan when we do it, Kyle.
Yeah.
But the Houston Texans, I mean, I had their pick earlier. They went Evan Neal. Now they're going to flip to the other side of the ball. I just think Kyle Hamilton's too good to pass up here. I mean, look. Houston can go anywhere. Houston has needs all over the place. Kyle Hamilton's really a chess piece they can put wherever. And I just think that his size, they're getting 2 freaks of nature in the first round of this draft, bringing some much needed toughness to that Houston Texans team.
Yeah, and I love that pick by Houston. They need kind of an identity to be brought back there with losing Deshaun Watson, and drafted Kyle Hamilton will really help out with that. Now at pick 14, the Baltimore Ravens. Ian, who are they selecting?
Yeah, I messaged you. I was like, yeah, this is easy. We're going Jermaine Johnson here. Jermaine Johnson for me is a top 5 player in this class. And I think that, a lot of people talk about the pass rush productivity rate. It's a little lower for him, but he was playing contain a lot before he rushed. So he had to read the run and then rush. A lot of guys in the class, aside from him, could pin their ears back and just go, right? When you have that element where you can just go, you don't have to hesitate, it adds a whole new element to your game. And I think that Jermaine Johnson, when he has that opportunity in the NFL, we saw his athleticism at the NFL Combine around 6'5", 254, I think 34-inch arms, right? Ran in the 4.5s. He's got that explosiveness, that lateral agility, that power generation capacity. He was dominant at the Senior Bowl. Very good hands. I think he's got the best combination of high floor and high ceiling, even more than Aiden Hutchinson in this class. So I think the value here for 14 alongside Adafe Owa with the Ravens, I think you're getting a potentially elite edge combination. So that's worth its weight in gold in the NFL.
Yeah, and this was really big for me because I was going to go Jermaine Johnson at 15 with Philly here or defensive tackle. But the fact is, after looking at the stats, the Philadelphia Eagles at 15 are taking Kayvon Thibodeau, the edge rusher, 6'4", 254 pounds. He ran a 4.58 40. But get this, he had 27 reps on the bench. So not only is he fast, is he quick. The guy is strong as an ox. That is the type of cat that you'd want on your defense for the Philadelphia Eagles, invoking that physicality back to the Philadelphia Eagles defense. With 7 sacks last season for Oregon Ducks. I think he's going to be very productive.
Also, real fast, one thing about Thibodeau, everybody wants to throw out there that he has character concerns or he's more concerned about his brand, but I'd rather him be more concerned about his brand than getting in trouble. It's not like he's a bad guy. Pat McAfee mentioned this. He was like, Najee Harris was almost the same way. Like he was just different than anybody else. And he's done fine. So I really think Kayvon Thibodeau could still go high.
Yeah, that's a really good.
I don't want him to go to Philly. I don't want him to go to Philly.
Me either. You know? Now, heading to 16, the New Orleans Saints, selected by Hall. Who are they taking?
Yes, re-signed Jameis Winston to a contract to be the quarterback the next couple of years. For some reason, the 3 mock drafts that we've done, I'm somehow drafted this player to each 3 of the different teams. But they're going to bolster their offensive line. They're going to go Trevor Penning.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a good pick for them. They need some extra oomph up front. But now we're going to pick 17, being selected by Pro Football Focus's Nick Akridge. Our draft was so poor, essentially, that he is smiling through this pick because he loves it so much. I'm telling you, he's cheesing these.
So with the 17th pick in the draft, the Los Angeles Chargers are going to pick Derek Stingley. I only picked this because I didn't think there'd be any way he would fall this far. I think he's a top 5 player in this class. Our guys at PFF have him as their 2nd overall player. So it might not be the greatest fit scheme-wise, but this type of talent, getting him at 17, I think is way too hard to pass up on.
Draft. Thank you so much, Nick, for being able to pick Derek Stingley. I know he was laughing after he made that pick. He's like, Stingley fell all the way here? It's just too good to pass up. I think you're absolutely right about that. Nick, now at 18, Reed, the Philadelphia Eagles. Make this a poor pick, man.
No, I would. But I wanted to go Derek Stingley so bad. I was hoping it would fall one more, but they're going to fill another need and they're going to address that front 7 again. They're going to take Devin Lloyd. Seeing firsthand what a versatile linebacker like Kyle's best friend Micah Parsons can do, I really think
I don't know anybody by that name.
Lloyd even higher on their radar because they were so affected by him. He's not as athletic as Micah Parsons. Now, of course, we also have 40 time, but this guy, he can do it all. He can rush the passer, he can put his hand in the dirt, he can play. He can play the run. He can drop and cover underneath. He's actually not bad in man coverage as well. So Philly's getting a couple good players here, man. It sucks, but
it does suck.
I think he played safety in high school too. It's crazy.
Yeah, his range is obviously there, and his instincts are as well. I love his.
Yeah, no, Andy played safety in high school apparently.
And now the next pick, heading 19 to New Orleans Saints. This is my favorite pick of the draft right here. Ian, who are the Saints selecting?
Yeah, so Hall did me a solid getting Trevor Penning, solidifying that tackle position. I was happy about that. I was like, all right, I can kind of free myself up here. And I went with Treylon Burks at 19. I think the value is good here. I think, everyone was kind of stressing about the 4.5 and the 40-yard dash at the combine, but this guy's 6'2", 225. All right, give him a break. He's running pretty fast for that size. He's very dense, and he's got more build-up speed too. If you give him a lane, if he can, gear up and kind of widen his strides, he is very hard to catch. And I think that explosiveness, that lateral agility as well, he shows that in space, making guys miss. He's pretty efficient on those slants too. He can improve as a route runner, but again, he's got that ability to at least get open in the short range. And I think for Jameis Winston, really interesting dual wielding impact for him, where in the short range, you can scheme him for easy completions, but at the same time, downfield, if you want to get Jameis to kind of unfurl a little bit, he's got 33.5-inch arms. He's got elite instincts at the catch point. I really love the dual-sided effect that he can have for this offense.
Oh, what a breakdown that was. Fantastic. Just in time for the 20th pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers. And fortunately for them, I'm making this pick for them, and it's going to be Desmond Ridder, the quarterback from Cincinnati. I love this pick. I know a lot of people have their reservations about Desmond Ridder, but he fits what Pittsburgh brings, essentially. And I've when watching his film, I even made the correlation that he looked like a young Big Ben. Being able to be put in a system where, yes, you are a part. You are not the part, and expected a lot, where he can grow with his running game and Najee Harris, let the defense do their thing, and let Desmond Ridder just grow into the position over time. And then trading for Mitchell Trubisky allows Desmond Ridder to get his mechanics up and running, to get them a little bit more crisp by the time he is ready to go, just in case Mitchell Trubisky doesn't play that well this season. They have Desmond Ridder cocked and ready to go. Now, heading to 21. Michael Hall, is it New England? Yeah, New England. Who are they selecting?
Yeah, I went a little outside the box here. I know a lot of people are high on George Pickens from Georgia. Obviously, the injury kind of knocked him down a couple pegs as far as the wide receiver rankings going into the season. But with Mac Jones there, they have not the greatest weapons. I know they spent a lot of money with Hunter Henry and Delaney Walker last year in free agency, and they got Kendrick Bourne. But I think with Bourne and Jacoby Myers, and you add in George Pickens, another big body receiver, definitely helps out Mac Jones in that offense. And I think that he becomes a number one receiver there instantly.
Green Bay and Kansas City are like, can you guys save some for us?
Right. Just wait till you get to the end of this mock draft, dude. But now let's move on to the 22nd pick. And this is going to be selected by our guy, Logan Paulson, who had a fantastic interview with Coach Rivera the other day.
Yeah.
I mean, it was absolutely amazing to be able to listen to that interview. But
I was feeding him questions. He's my best friend.
Now let's listen to what Logan picks at 22 for the Green Bay Packers.
Burgundy Zone, what's up? So I didn't realize when I was picking for the Packers at 22 that it would be an insane draft. 3 quarterbacks going before the 20th pick. A lot of value still left on the board. I almost went Jordan Davis. I love that guy's tape, but I went with Trent McDuffie out of UW because I think he's got excellent feet, awesome zone coverage. Is going to instantly make that secondary better. I thought receiver as well, but again, I don't think, while I love Jahan Dotson out of Penn State, I think 22 is a little high from him. Christian Watson, a little too raw for me, so go with the best value at the pick there. Cornerback, Trent McDuffie out of Washington.
All right, Logan, stop babbling.
Thank you, Logan. And that was poorly timed. Thank you for Logan for picking Trent McDuffie, the cornerback, the third off the board so far at the 22nd pick going to Green Bay. Now at 23, the Arizona Cardinals out on the West Coast. Who are they selecting, Reed?
Well, I mean, at this point, it's just this guy's just too good to pass up here. I mean, Arizona gave up 4.7 yards per carry last year. They need another big defensive lineman. They need somebody to free up blockers, and Jordan Davis is a freak of nature. I think he's going to go a lot higher than this, I would imagine, but Arizona would be salivating at this, getting him to freeing up blocks for Isaiah Simmons to actually use his athleticism and be able to run around back there. I just think he makes too much. I'd say I have bigger needs, obviously, but this is still a pretty big prospect that they're getting.
Yeah, I feel like Jordan Davis is another person that could go to like Baltimore as well and just be one of those picks where you're just like,
Haloti Nada 2.0.
Yeah, that makes sense, right? And that's a perfect place for him to go. You're absolutely right. Now, Ian, unfortunately, you got tasked with picking for the Cows here at 24. Who are they going with?
Yeah, I feel like a traitor here, with the Washington jersey background, and I'm filling that left guard needed with the best left guard in the draft, Zion Johnson. I'm sorry, guys, I had to. I'm playing the board here, but this guy's a fun player. I mean, he's around 6'2". He's built like a brick, but he's got really long arms as well. He's super dense, very strong, very compact. And you look at him on tape. I mean, the one thing that I love from interior blockers is having a little shorter, but having those longer arms, so you have natural leverage and you can hit them at the contact point sooner. He's got that. He's physical. He's violent. very well balanced, very athletic. And then you'll see he's a finisher on tape too. He's playing to the whistle on every down. I love what he provides to the Cowboys. Not for the Washington. I know it's going to be tough, fighting that interior. But, if you're Dallas and this guy drops to you, I feel like he fills the need, and he's probably one of the best players on the board too.
Yeah, I hope Jonathan Allen's ready to punch somebody else in the face this time. You know what I'm saying? Now, moving to number 25 is picking for the Buffalo Bills. And here they go cornerback. I think they go with Andrew Booth Jr., the fourth cornerback in this first-round mock. I absolutely love this pick for them. Andrew Booth, 6 foot, 194 pounds, had 3 interceptions last season, has 5 interceptions total over his course of a 3-year career at Clemson, a great on-ball defender. Coupling him in with Tre'Davious White, and this secondary is absolutely just brutal for this defense. They get a lot better. I absolutely love this pick for Buffalo. Now at 26, Hall is picking for the Tennessee Titans.
Yes. I'm going to go defense for the Titans. I was going to go wide receiver, but like I said, I just want to shake it up a little bit. So I'm going to take Kaiir Elam from Florida for the Titans. I think that Mike Vrabel and that defense is going to – he didn't play his best football in his final season down in Florida, but SEC guy, he has the pedigree with his I think his uncle or his nephews with Matt Elam that was in the league for a really long time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, safety to play for the Ravens, a couple other teams, I think, as well. But definitely has a pedigree, and I definitely think that he gets mixed into that Tennessee culture, that Mike Vrabel defense. He will succeed very well and hopefully become that number 1, number 2 corner for that team.
Yeah, now the next pick at 27 is one of our fan selections, and this is for Tampa Bay. And I thought there was no one better to make this pick than Mr. Trevor Sikkema himself, Tampa Bay Trey, making the selection for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 27.
Guys, Trevor Sikkema here, picking for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And with this selection, I'm going to take Michigan safety Daxton Hill. I think he's got a ton of athleticism, can be able to play in the slot, which we saw this past year. Also has the ability to play as a single high free safety, which is nice. He's got a lot of versatility, which I think the Bucs could definitely use. Logan Ryan, Keanu Neal, and even Jamel Dean and Sean Murphy-Bunting. No guarantee those guys are going to be on the roster next year. Basically, the only locks at this point, Carlton Davis and Antoine Winfield Jr. They love secondary players. So I'm going to take Dax Hill. I'm going to go a little bit ahead of the curve. I'm going to look to the future a little bit. I'm going to get him a stud secondary player there. So I'm going to go Dax Hill here at 27.
Thank you, Trevor, for making that selection. I'm sure everyone in Tampa is going to be very, very happy to hear that Daxton Hill is going back to Tampa. Now our next pick at 28, Green Bay Packers being selected by Reed. Are they going to go wide receiver here?
Well, yeah, but they're looking around. They're like, what the H is going on? All these receivers are off the board, but they get a good one. They get somebody who he's ranked anywhere from number 5, usually number 6, somewhere in that range, but they get him as wide receiver 7 in this class. And that is Jahan Dotson, the wide receiver out of Penn State. Aaron Rodgers would love this guy. I know that if he's going to be stepping into a Devontae Adams type role, he's a little small, obviously. And we know Aaron Rodgers like some of those big guys, but this guy, he's had success with Randall Cobb. He's had success with some of these smaller guys, and Jahan Dotson is just so fun to watch. He might have the best hands in this draft, to be completely honest. For his size, he makes some insane plays, and Aaron Rodgers is going to love him for the year that he's there.
Yeah, and then the next pick here, Kansas City with their first selection in this first round. Ian, everyone knows they're going to be looking for a wide receiver, but my goodness, is that dried up. So what is Kansas City going to do?
Yeah, at this point, there's like a dozen at least in this class. It's an exaggeration, but they fell pretty quick in this one. So I had to improvise a little bit. With Kansas City, obviously, you do have flexibility. First off, it's a deep wide receiver class, so you don't need to rush into anything if you don't need to. They might end up packaging these picks and moving up. Obviously, no trades in this one. So I went with an edge rusher. I went with David Ajabo. I know the Achilles tear is kind of looming over his stock. It's a big unfortunate event to happen at his pro day, and it's going to knock him back a little bit. But I do think when he's healthy, he is a phenomenal talent. When he was healthy, he was a little bit higher than Hutchinson on my board. It's a bit of a hot take, but Hutchinson plays a little bit stiffer. Arms aren't as long, not quite as, functionally athletic on tape. Ajabo, very explosive, very bendy, very flexible. And he was improving his hand usage throughout the year. So I look at him, that agility, that burst, that power capacity, having all of that in spades. To me, the upside is through the roof with this guy. And if I'm Kansas City, I can get that 5th-year option with this extra first-round pick, keep him in for the long haul. By year 3, he's back to normal and he's getting double-digit sacks. So I love the upside here, and I think it's enough to bank on.
My man, dude, I love the description.
And like you said, eventually Frank Clark is gonna, not be doing much for Kansas City. It makes sense. Ajabo is such a freak of nature.
Kansas City, they love to draft Michigan edge rushers for some reason too.
They do.
Like
Frank
Clark,
they do.
Mike
Right.
Dana. It's just a thing.
Their
I don't know why.
Yeah, that's their kink. Yeah, it's like the Patriots and white slot receivers.
It's true. Now at 30, I am picking for the Kansas City Chiefs with their second selection here, and I had them going with Sky Moore, which is the 8th wide receiver drafted so far in this mock. I love Sky Moore. I think the guy can do it all. Sitting at 5'10", 195 pounds, ran a 4.4 140. Last season had 95 receptions, nearly 1,300 yards receiving, and 10 touchdowns, so averaging 13.6 on the ground with a RAS score of 8.29. They're going to be missing a lot with Tyreek Hill, but allowing Sky Moore to be able to come in here and work with Juju Smith-Schuster and others, he's going to be able to run the full route tree, and he's going to look fantastic with Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid calling the plays. Now, sitting at 31, Hall, second to last pick of this first round. Cincinnati, what are they going with?
Best pick in the draft.
Yes. I feel like they not really got a steal because he's a first-round talent, but he was definitely one of those players that slipped just because of position and other needs for other teams. They get one of the best linemen in the class, the number one center on the board. Obviously, they got their skill weapons in place. They did some shuffling during the offseason and free agency to kind of bolster their offensive line. They bolstered it even more. They get Tyler Linderbaum from Iowa. He's a mauler. He plays with aggression, just straight up destroys defensive tackles, pancakes them. And he brings more of an edge to the offensive line. And obviously, number one is protecting Joe Burrow, the franchise quarterback.
Right. And real fast, like I said, when I picked him 2 drafts ago, he fell to me too with Cincy. And like if that happens, they deserve a medal or a holiday for it, the way that they flipped that offensive line into something solid, because they completely revamped it and they understood the assignment this offseason.
Yes, they did. Now, with the last pick in the draft, I figured there would be no one better to be able to pick for the Detroit Lions at 32 than Coach Greg Curl. For them to make the selection here, and let's see what he has to say.
Hey, what's up, fellas? It's your main man, Coach Greg Curl, coming with you with the 32nd pick in the 2022 NFL Draft. The Detroit Lions are taking John Mechie III out of Alabama, wide receiver. Detroit needs some weapons on offense. They took a quarterback earlier. I think this will help them get the offense moving. I wanted to go edge rusher, but all the edge rushers that I really like were already taken.
All right, thank you, Coach Curl, for making the last selection in this draft. John Mechie, the wide receiver out of Alabama. That means there's 9 wide receivers total in our mock draft being selected in this first round, which would just be disastrous for Kansas City and others, and Washington possibly if they don't get a wide receiver early on. But, Ian, I can't thank you enough for coming on here and joining us during this mock draft. How bad did we butcher it?
Hey, you say it's a crazy mock draft. That's every mock draft this time of year. You're never going to get away from that. It might be an NFL record, 9 wide receivers in round 1, but hey, we're breaking records this year. This is what we're doing. So I had fun with it. I think a lot of these guys, you could make a case that maybe they do sneak in. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, and ultimately it comes down to different teams and how they value players. And as we know, there's 32 different teams, so a lot of different outcomes, man. I'm excited for it.
Absolutely. Ian, I can't thank you enough for joining us. And before we head out of here, if you just like to plug in your Twitter, your social media handles, just in case anybody doesn't following already, Ken.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I might need to shorten it, make it a little more efficient in the future. But for now, it's at Ian_Cummings_9. 2 underscores, 2 more than I would like. But, I might change it in the future. We'll see. Pro Football Network is at PFN 365. This is where we're doing all of our draft content. Leading up to the draft, I've got my final full 7-rounder that I'm working on right now, aiming to have it out by Sunday. So that'll be another crazy mock to look at. But in the meantime, just updating scouting reports and finalizing grades.
Yeah, disclaimer is going to put at the bottom. I was on this horrible mock draft the other night. But no, I can't thank you enough, Ian. You are the absolute man. I appreciate you being able to take your time, being able to do this mock draft with us. It gave us another edge to it. I really appreciate you doing so. And then, guys, just want to let you know, next week, our show will not be going on Friday. It will be on Thursday. We'll be broadcasting from FedEx Field on the field, being able to talk out on the field. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So if you're not going to have your tickets already, make sure you guys go out and get those. All right, everybody, and then we'll see you on Monday. Don't miss out on that show. I'm Kyle.
I'm Hall.
I'm old dad.
And we will see you guys on Monday. Be safe, everybody. Washington football. Woo! Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Kyle. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. And if you liked what you saw, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you get notified when anything new is uploaded to the channel. Also, we just launched theburgundyzone.com. You can go there and find all of our latest news, articles, and the latest episodes that are uploaded. Again, we also have the Discord chat server, where all of our VIP folks are in, like Andy Burrows, Scott Hartley, Sergio Martin is in there as well. Don't miss out on the Discord chat server. Go and check that out. Until next time, everybody, Washington football. Woo!